Hey everybody, it is Wednesday evening and I'm just now getting around to getting into the fish room. It's about 8 o'clock already and I don't know what I want to do as far as a video topic, and I don't know what I want to do as far as getting any work done here in the fish room this evening. My 55-gallon tank is in very much of a need of a water change. You can see how much that pleco poop is starting to collect on the bottom in big stringy piles. So getting in there and doing a basic gravel vac would be a good idea. I've got a few dead leaves in there that need to get trimmed out. My New World tank really needs some attention. It needs at the very least a water top off. But every time I do that, since I'm throwing the hose in the tank to top it off, I may as well just drain some water out first. It's not like I'm bringing in a bucket and topping it off a few gallons at a time. When I do, need to add water to it, it generally gets a water change anyway. You can see how low it is over here. And then, of course, my purple spotted gudgeon tank needs some attention. I need to add some water to this tank and or change the water. I just did a water change recently, so topping this one off wouldn't be a bad idea. But I also need to do some gravel vacuuming in the bottom there. I've still got those plants that I just stuck in the corner. They're just kind of sitting there. Whether they get pulled out or not, I don't know. And then my 125 here is the one that at the moment is the most neglected. I really need to get in here and do work. You can see how filthy the glass is. It's just crud growing on it or whatever. The tank itself isn't dirty. The fish aren't in any danger. My angelfish tank here is pretty much finishing up its chemi-clean treatment. I'll let that go for another day, so we don't really have to worry about doing anything with that tonight. And my one other tank I need to work on, my brackish tank over here, really needs some maintenance. I haven't been in there and done anything in a while. So what am I actually going to do tonight? I don't know. I really don't. I don't know if I'm actually going to get in here and do anything. I decided that the topic of tonight's video would be more or less a personal type video about myself and my fish keeping habits and how they relate to my fish tanks. I don't know if you want to call it tank personality or whatever, but I know how I am. I have my ups and my downs. I have days where I'm really hyper motivated and I get in here and I work on all my tanks in one day. And then I have swings where it's the other end of the spectrum and I have a hard time getting motivated to do anything, and it's a struggle some days even to get the motivation to come in here and just feed everybody. People have told me I should set my lights up on automatic timers and all that. And if I don't have if I don't give myself something to do in here, there would be days where I simply wouldn't even come in here. And so turning the lights on and off at least gives me the excuse twice a day of having to look around to make sure everybody's okay and I don't need to address anything urgently. And I just know that's how I am. I've lived with myself my whole life. I know how I am. I know what my personality is. And I know that if I had fish and if I had tanks that were set up in such a way that if you miss a maintenance schedule, there's disaster will strike. I can't have a tank like that because I will miss a maintenance schedule. I'm terrible at keeping track of stuff. I lose track of time. So I'm really disorganized in that sense. But as far as the motivational aspect of it, the days where it might be, 3, 4, 5 days in a row where I just can't bring myself to get in here and get any of the stuff I need to get done, well, it's not that big a deal. My tanks don't really suffer for that. And you know what? If I don't get in here tonight with the gravel vac, and if I don't vac that poop out of here until tomorrow or the day after, it's not going to be that big of a deal. It'll be fine. In fact, you can see my tetras are in there spawning right now. So clearly the tank is not inhospitable and the fish aren't in any danger or anything like that. And so I think that's important to note. If you're new in the hobby especially, and you're setting your tanks up, you need to think about what you're going to realistically be able to do and maintain. It's easy to bite off way more than you can chew, but it's also easy to set up tanks that aren't necessarily suited to your personality. If you like lush green growing stuff, don't set up a bare bottom glass tank. That's, that's a pretty obvious example. I don't know why anybody would do that. But if you're not the kind of person that likes really, fiddly stuff that requires high maintenance and attention to detail and all that, you probably don't want to set up a nano tank. If you are a person that really enjoys attention to detail and having to fiddle with stuff constantly and whatnot, maybe setting up a nano tank would be great for you. But knowing your personality and knowing, what you're going to really do on a day-to-day basis in real life, I tell this to my customers all the time. I have a deer repellent company, and I tell them, I'll leave you some repellent to use throughout the month on the gardens if you're going to use it. And I say, be honest with me. If you're not going to use it, that's okay. You don't have to pretend you are. But, just be honest with yourself. Are you going to really get out here and use that in the garden? And a lot of times they say, well, no, not really. Whereas a moment before they were acting all enthusiastic like they really would. But when I told them to really think about it for a minute, they said, no, you're right. I probably won't ever actually get around to doing that. So keep that kind of stuff in mind when you are setting up an aquarium or you're thinking about how to redesign or rescape something. Am I really going to be able to do 100% water change twice a week on that tank? I know it sounds fun, but 6 months in, am I going to be sick of doing that? Am I going to be bored with looking at it? Am I going to be stuck with these fish that I know they're going to live for 8 or 10 years and I've got my tank set up to accommodate these fish and now I'm stuck with them? So taking that kind of stuff into consideration and really being honest with yourself and thinking about what you will and won't do when you've got an aquarium set up, I think is important to long-term success and long-term enjoyment within the hobby. If you're always stressing because your tank's not being properly maintained, that's no fun. And then, of course, if it's not being properly maintained, you're always going to have problems with it. My tanks are a little slipshod. I know that. They tend to get a little messy. But I gear them towards being able to do that. Like I said, lots of filtration, lots of circulation. People always talk about how much stuff I put in my tanks, how crowded they are. Well, all that crowded stuff in there provides habitat and biologicals and so on and so forth and allows my tanks, provided I've got plenty of water circulation and my pumps keep running, I don't really need to worry about it doing my water changes so frequently, and I can forget about, doing some gravel vacs now and again. I can let the filter slide for a few water changes before I have to get in there and worry about it. My tank is set up, and all my tanks are more or less set up to handle that kind of behavior because they're my tanks, and they're going to experience that kind of behavior. I just know that. So anyway, that's just a few thoughts. Again, I didn't really have any idea what I was going to shoot for a video tonight, so I figured that would be an interesting enough topic. Anybody has any suggestions for topics, things they'd like to hear my opinion about, or questions or anything like that, you can feel free to leave them below. Can't guarantee I will shoot a video about it, but any suggestions are always helpful. So I'm going to say thanks for watching this one. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget, of course, this one is my 125-gallon New World tank. So thanks again, and I'll see you real soon in the next one.